Hey LAN party gamers, welcome to an automated LAN party update. This is a huge ALP request from many of our users and Patreon members, and that is to add your own games and downloads to the service when you're running events. We've created some scripts as well as programs in order to make this easy for people who don't necessarily know PHP, Python, server languages, anything like that. That'll help automate it and make it easy to add games and downloads to your version of ALP. We're going to get started with a game to add called Marble Arena 2. And right here on the desktop of ALP, we've got 3 folders to get started. The first file is the folder with the dedicated server inside of it. The second is a file of a nice header image of the game. And the last is the zip of the client version of the game for people to download and play the game. So those you have to procure outside of ALP. This is a shareware game, so it's easy to find this stuff. And then we just validated that it works on another computer before we decide to commit it to ALP. So once that homework has been done, we're ready to start moving on. To add your game to the server list here as an active server on ALP, we're going to open up the server shortcut on the desktop or C/servers. And there's a new program here called addserver.py. That'll give us this ALP game server setup wizard, and it warns us right off the bat that we need to make the dedicated server files inside of C/games. So clicking on that will open up C/games, and we're going to move our server dedicated folder into there. Done. We can now hit next. We're going to name our game here, so we're going to do Marble Arena 2. How much RAM we expect the dedicated server to take? Probably not that much, so I'll just do 108 megs of RAM. This is going to run in a console, so no video RAM will be required. We're going to hit next. It wants us to find the dedicated server file. This can be an exe or a bat file. In our case, it's going to be an exe. There it is, arena.exe. Now this did not contain an icon. Okay, so it wants us to add an icon here. So we're going to browse for an icon here. Here's the icon file inside of our Marble Arena 2 folder. So now it's got an icon to use for its shortcut. And any launch arguments. Some dedicated servers don't require launch arguments, some do. So this will make a shortcut inside of our servers folder here with this launch argument behind it. So we're going to do, in our case, -dedicated, and that'll make it not run the game, it'll make it run the server instead. Obviously every game's going to have a different launch argument for its dedicated server, so that'll take a little bit of research, but this will create it for you once you've typed it in. We can now hit next. Supporting files, this are going to be other shortcuts that are going to be put inside this servers folder for ease of access. So we're going to add the servers configuration file as a shortcut and hit next. And here's our confirmation window. Game name, expected RAM, video RAM, the server path to the exe, any launch arguments for it, the icon path, and any supporting files we want made shortcuts of, and finish. Marble Arena 2 has now been added to ALP. Wonderful! And look at that, right in our servers folder, there's our new game, Marble Arena 2. If we open that up, we have a copy of the icon, copy of the server, and if we hit properties on that, we can see the launch argument has been put in that shortcut, as well as a shortcut to the server's configuration file so we can name our server or any other kinds of configuration that we want to change, we can do it easy without having to search for that file later. Now, what else does that program do for us? Well, if we look at our C batch files program folder, so we'll go to Games, Batch Files, we'll see that there's a new batch file called launch marble-arena2.bat that program automatically added. And what it programmed to do is it looks for the exe that you chose, and if it doesn't find that it's running, it launches your shortcut from your servers, Marble Arena 2, Marble Arena 2 server.lnk. If it's already found running, it'll skip it, so you don't have multiple instances of the server running. The other thing that it does is if we go into our launch all servers batch file here, you'll find all the ones that come with ALP first, and then as we scroll down, here we go, user added games, Marble Arena 2, and that batch file that we just looked at is called upon here during the start of the server. Pretty cool. Alright, so that's starting the server, and if we try to open it, Marble Arena 2 server, there it is. The server has started, waiting for clients, and that's it. That's added. Now people can connect, but, well, how do people download the game, right? Where do people get the game files from? Marble Arena 2, especially if we're offline or at a venue that doesn't have good internet, well, now we have to make the game accessible to our clients via our website. So, first thing we're going to do is make sure that our website service is running. So within the same servers file folder, we're going to go into the website subfolder and start our WAMP service. And we'll just let that load. If it's running already, we'll notice it at the bottom right of our screen. The W for WAMP should be green. Okay, now that the WAMP service is open, we can start adding a download to that very website. So within this website folder, there's the very first link alphabetically, add download. We're going to open this program, and it's going to ask us to do a couple things ahead of time, just like before. We can place our download zip file in download manager files within the website directory. So we're going to open that file folder up, and we're going to move our download in there. Done. And if we want a header image on that download page, put it here. So we're going to open that up. We're going to move our header image there. Done. Next. What are we going to call this? Marble Arena 2. Is it a game or a program? Well, it's a game. What version of this game is it? Well, we can find that out either in the details of the game or by attempting to launch it. We're just going to call this 1.0 or 1. Then we need a description of the game. Now, oftentimes you'll type this out, or Marble Arena 2. If we go to the official website or wiki, once we have our description either copied or written down, we can hit next. And we need to tell the program which zip to make available to our clients. So we will choose Marble Arena 2. Now remember not to have any spaces, or the download link will not work, so we'll change them to underscores, or just take them out entirely. So the title is now marble_arena_2.zip. The header image, we had that earlier, so we're going to browse for that. There we go. The one at the bottom here. Again, no spaces. And we're going to hit next. And here's our review summary. Game name, category 1.0, description, zip file path, header image path. Submit. And now it says Marble Arena 2 has been added to the WordPress download manager with the post ID of 702. Let's take a look. We're going to open up our web browser, head on over to our intranet page. If you're on the computer itself, you can go to localhost. If you're on another computer after the fact, you would have to browse to the host name of your ALP instance, like LAN-server, for instance. Now that we're on the home page of our local server, we're going to go to the downloads link. We're going to choose games. And lo and behold, there's Marble Arena 2. If we click on the name of it, we should see our header image. There it is, along with the description we wrote. And the download link, just to test, should, there it is, download Marble Arena 2 through the browser. And that is step 2 of adding a new game to ALP. Now on to step 3. How do they know that the service is running? It's not showing in the server list. Well, that's what our next program is going to do. It's going to put it on here so people know, hey, come and play this neat game we just added. So, if we go back to our server shortcut, we go to Website, and we go to Add Server Status Checker to Site. We are prompted with this wizard again. What are we going to name this? Marble Arena 2. How will the website know that the dedicated server or someone is hosting this game? Well, we've got two different detection methods. A local exe, is this program on the server running? Yes or no? Well, let's use that to start with. So yes, we know that if this particular exe is running, and we can see it here in Task Manager, arena.exe is running, that means people should be able to connect to it. So that's what we're going to use in order to see a green checkbox on our server status page. Now, what's that exe? Let's tell this program here. We're going to browse to Marble Arena 2 under C Games. We're going to pick arena.exe. This server exe does not have an icon. Well, we need an icon because when it publishes it, all of these servers have a nice little icon next to them. So we want to make sure it matches that format. So we need to add a separate icon file. So we have one. We can pick ICO, PNG, JPEG, GIF, etc. We're just going to grab the icon file that was automatically placed in our Marble Arena 2 folder. There we go. How many players max will this support? 32. And where can players get the game download? And that's going to be this link here on the right for any of these games. So that's going to be from our downloads page that we generated earlier. There it is, Marble Arena 2. Everything looks good and accurate. Generate script and PHP. We're going to click that. It's going to tell us if we've made this before and do we really want to remake it? Well, yes, in this case we want to update an existing query because maybe we told it the wrong number of max players, or maybe we want to change the icon file. Okay, same thing there. Alright, now we are given some code. What do we do with this code? Well, we read this next steps. A PHP file has been generated and opened in Notepad. Copy this PHP code from Notepad here. So we're going to click on this Go to WP Code plugin page as administrator. Now, if we're not already logged in as administrator, we might have to log in and then click on this link again. But we want to be here in the WP Code section of the website, where we can see we have all these other server status indications here, all these other WP code files. So what we want to do is either duplicate one or create a new one. So if we hit add new at the top, what do we want to add? It's going to be our own custom code. What do we want to call it? Well, it's going to be a PHP snippet called Marble Arena 2. And where do we get the code? Well, this notepad file that it opened and saved to our desktop. We can delete that later, but just in case we close this notepad file, we can always reopen this in Notepad as well. So we're going to copy this into here. Done. We want to insert method. We want to change it to shortcode. Then we want to save the snippet. Once this snippet is saved and the page refreshes, if we go down to the bottom, we have a WP code ID of 703 in our case. We're going to copy that. I find this copy button here often doesn't work, so I like to highlight it and right-click copy or Control-C. And then we're going to activate this code. Now, what's the next step? Paste the PHP code in the snippet, save and activate it. After activation, find the shortcode at the bottom of the snippet page. Copy this shortcode into a new block at the bottom of the server status page. Link. So here's the server status page coming up, and it is the back end of this page. And these are all the WP code snippets that create that page. So we'll just go to the bottom. We'll add a block. We can also add blocks in between blocks, or we can rearrange them alphabetically. What do we want to add? We want to add a shortcode block. If you don't see it, you would hit Browse All. Shortcode, right-click, paste. WP code 703. Update. Now if we go to our server status page and we hit refresh, we might see an error. Let's go to the bottom and find out. Nope, we're good. Here we go. So here it is, the icon we chose. The server says it's offline. Marble Arena 2 is the name, but it's not online according to this, but we can check out the download link works. It does in fact work. Now, how do we make sure that this is working? Well, we can see it's running, so this should be green. That second file it makes two. It makes a Python file and it makes a PHP file. So if we go and we run either query servers right here, that'll rerun all of the Python query server applications to update this entire web page. Or if we open that file location and we just sort by the newest modified Python file, which should be the one we just made, Marble Arena 2, and run that, and then we refresh the page. Okay, cool. Now we have a server status page that shows from our Python script that the dedicated server is up, is green, with the name of the game, the name of the server running the game, how many players max it can hold, the IP address of the server to connect to, and a download link that works. Awesome. Now, let's say this is a different kind of game, maybe a Halo or a Call of Duty, and you want to see if other people are hosting it. Obviously, checking to see if the task of Call of Duty or Arena or what have you, EXE is running on the server to make this work isn't going to work. Okay, this is where we get a little complicated. So, we have our add server status checker GUI up, and we can change our detection method from local exe to a network scan, and this is where it gets interesting. Now you can use tools like Wireshark and a copy of the game to scan the packets to and from a real client when they hit the LAN server browser, and capture those packets and download the payloads that they're sending over the network to and from either the broadcast IP, which is 255 repeating, or the server itself that's hosting the game. In this example, we're going to scan our network for Battlefield 2 instances. So I've got Wireshark opened, and we're going to scan the Ethernet, so I'm going to double click on that. And the way that it works is we're going to see what port first Battlefield's using to query the network. How do we find that out? Well, when you go into Battlefield and you query the network, it sends a broadcast to 255.255.255.255. So that's what we're going to look for first. So ip.adder equals 255, repeating, enter. So these are all the packets being sent to every computer on the network or broadcast. So if I go into Battlefield 2 and I click on Update Server List to get our local IP, or our local server's IPs, let it update, and then stop Wireshark, we can see a whole bunch of 8 length packets being sent over the network from my IP address to broadcast, 255 repeating. And they're all the same, but they have one thing different. They're all sending to this information here, which is the port 29900 through 29950 before anything else happens. So this must be our Battlefield 2 server trying all sorts of ports in a 50 port range with this 8 character length packet. Well, what we need to do now is see what else happened. We definitely got a reply from Battlefield 2 with the server. What else happened on this port? So 29900 is the important thing we learned from this. So instead of searching for IP addresses now, we're going to search for that port. UDP port 299 equals 29900, enter. Here we go. Here's that initial query to broadcast to everyone. Hey, is anybody hosting Battlefield? Here's a reply from the server to me saying, I am. Here's my response from my computer saying, I'd like to know about what you're hosting. The server replies with, what's the password? Give me the correct handshake. To which my computer sends the handshake, this 11 length character snippet, to which the server says, here is all the details. It's the name of the server, how many players, is friendly fire enabled, all of it. And so that's what we are going to try to do. We're going to spoof these calls. Broadcast, 8 length. Reply to sender, length of 7. Reply to sender number 2, handshake, length of 11. And when it says length, it means these sets. So when we're looking for individual characters, that's going to be twice as much because a set is 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to write these down. I'm going to open up Notepad or Notepad++. And what we're going to do is copy from Wireshark the sends from my computer out. We're not really worried about the returns because that's what we're going to get when we do this live. So from my computer out, there's 3 of them. First one, copy the hex stream. We're going to paste it here, and we're only going to save the last 16 numbers because it's a length of 8, but we need sets, so it's 16. We're going to do the same thing with the next one my computer sent out, length of 7, so we saved the last 14, and then the last one my computer sent out, which was the length of 11, so we saved the last 22. There they are. 1, 2, 3. Now that we've got all 3 of those, we should be able to spoof or pretend that we are a Battlefield 2 game asking a real Battlefield 2 server for its details. Let's go back to our LAN server program and have it try this out. So we're going to add a server status checker to site just like before, but instead of local exe scan, we're going to do a network scan, and it's going to tell us where there's no exe, so we need to provide a valid icon. We can do that from our servers list, Battlefield 2 icon. Starting port, well, we know what that was. It was 29900 through 29950. So let's put that in, 29900 through 29950. Which port are we starting with, or which IP address does it start with? Well, we've got that in Wireshark here. It's the broadcast, 255 repeating. So that's the default here. We're going to leave it. Now we put in our 3 payloads. The broadcast one. Bam. And that's the first one on the list here, which is length 8, which is 16 characters. So we'll put those 16 characters in. Our first handshake payload was here, a length of 7, which means 14 characters. So we'll put that here. We're going to add a third payload because took 3 before we got our final. So we'll copy those final 22 characters, or length of 11. Max players, we know it supports 64 players, and where should the downloads be pointed to? Battlefield 2 on the server. That all looks good. Here we go. Here's the PHP, just like before. And what we really want is to try our Python script. So if we go to our Python scripts like before, under this query servers, if we open its file location and we sort by date modified, we'll find it right at the top, bf2 query, because that's the name we named the server scanner program, bf2. If we run that, I'm going to run it in PowerShell just so you can see the output, otherwise it goes too fast. Py bf2 query, enter. Here's where we sent the hex to all 50 ports. Here's the reply from a computer on the network that's running, and it says that's the reply we're looking for. So we send our second payload directly to him, and then again the third payload directly to him. And there's the reply with all of the server information from the server. Game mode, server name, IP address, etc. And then it writes the information about the server name, the max players, the server IP address and port, and how we found it. It was a LAN query to the database, which would also show up on the server scripts page where people can see what's live using our PHP snippet. Now that we've got our server status page working, we need to move our statuses around here. We've got Marble Arena 2 here at the bottom underneath the W's, and if we want it all the way up here in the M's, we know that where we want this to be is about 17 from the top. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 16. So below the 16th one, which is KSP. So if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. If I click the triple here and I say add after, we go to plus, shortcode, paste, update. And now if we go to the non-Steam servers page, we should see Marble Arena. There we go, in the M's.